Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares and sends my way. From the heart, thank you. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype to this video to help push the message. As well, thank you to those that have given some time to go on Amazon and check out the book I put out in regards to the message, either be a Kindle or be a book. From the heart, gracias. Well, everyone, getting right into it. On this one, I want to get to answering a question, right? Of course, with the personal story, so I could put some backbone into my answer. And it was basically, have I ever ran into vatos that were related to a member and they thought they were a member themselves, or in their head they walked around high power. So allow me to take you back to the feds. This started 2015 when I got there in Eloy. When I was in Eloy, like I stated before, they had a weird yard system there, at least when it came to us. For example, there was 3, 4 little yards right on the back of the building. They would take you out, but they would only use two of them. For example, when I first got there, due to what they were trying to say about me, well, due to my sea foul in California and being validated for so long, they would put me in a separate yard, and the homies right next to mine, right, another one. And with the time, we worked the Hudas, and the Hudas is like, you want to come in here, just come in here, and don't trip. So I started going in the yard with the rest of the camaradas, right? And when that started, a homie arrived, Raton from Fontana, and they had him like they had me in the beginning, right? Due to his sea foul in California, and most importantly, because he was Nito's nephew from Ontario, the senor. And they had him basically on walk alone per se. But again, it was just a little fence that divided us. We all came out right next door to each other. And within a couple weeks, they also allowed the homie to start coming out with us. Because at the end of the day, there was no funnies on the yard, right? It was just due to there was wars going on the main line with camaradas and the Árabes. And what they told us is they feared, since, like the homie Raton, we was a nephew, myself, because I came from the Bay, and they figured I had contacts with carnales and I could bring more chaos to the yard, right? That's why they were doing it, per se. That's what they would say. Anyways, the homie, he knew how to act around certain camaradas. For example, I remember with the homie from Armenian Power, he would act high powered, like, and with Sniper also from Tunerville. But with myself, with Diablo, and with the homie from Norwalk, Pitufo, that we've been validated for a while, right? He wouldn't act like that. He was just normal, right? Like any other camarada, but we would see it, and right away we've been around, individuals that put masks on like that. It's just best to keep away from, right? Cause, well, you see it time and time again, right? The main reason they put on the mask is because they feel they're superior because of their relationship to a Pili, right? Like I said in this case, to Juan or Nito from Ontario. And it was weird because as I knew Nito or heard of or and everything, he was a mellow individual, right? But anyways, basically we continue. The time I was there, it was like basically don't ask, don't tell type of thing, right? Just keep it humble, keep it respectful. I remember one time Pitufo did snap because the way he got at the homie from Armenian Power, I just told him, like, hey, I don't know why you get at the homie like that. There ain't nobody back here. Ain't nobody trumps nobody back here. And he just said, nah, that's not what I meant. He took me off guard from left field. And we just left it alone, you know. Anyways, from there, I will go to EMERO, and you guys pretty much know, the minute I get there, the one I get closest to is Sana, you know, and for a lot of factors, mainly because I had done crossings with Sana from the state before with homies from OC. So he knew my name on a personal tip, not just by Boca, right? And I was told also, right, when I left the Bay that if I was ever around Sana to receive Clecha from him. To be sincere, I think ever since I left the Bay, it was planned out, you know, for me to get school to come to Mexico and help out, cause they gave me about 5 billies, Sana being one, you know, puppet, puppet from 18, being another one that he was already doing things with Sinaloa. Well, I think it was planned out already, right? But of course, myself being in that movement, I didn't pay attention to it, right? Anyways, as I got there, shortly after, no, not shortly after, about a year after, the Vato Raton drives up, you know. Keep in mind, there's numerous of Pilis there, but there is no Pili from Ai. Not that it matters, right? Because there shouldn't be that set trip, but there is. It don't matter what they say, there is. And you can see it is, for example, Sana. I was probably the only one. No, there was like 3 of us that were receiving Clecha from Sana that weren't from Orange County. The rest was OC. Same with Joe, you know, Tony, nothing but homies from SGV, and so on and so forth, right? You've seen, for example, the homies from IE. There was no homie from, no Pili, excuse me, from IE. So yeah, they would show the respects, but it was rare the ones that stuck with the pili, right? What I mean stuck is just receiving clecha or supporting and those type of things, right? But anyways, the vato will hit the yard and he starts presenting himself. And now he picked up trust. Wherever he went after Elo, he picked up trust in what he could do just because of the bloodline, right? So he was pushing it. What I mean by is the first time we met him, it was Raton from Fontana, boom, boom, boom. And later on, through conversations, it came out who his tío was, right? Over here, his friend was from the gate. Hey, mucho gusto, Raton from Fontana. On Nito's nephew. I'm helping him out. Me being here is like Nito being present here, and all this stuff you would run across fishes, right? But anyways, Sana would just say mucho gusto and allow him to push on, right? Same with the other Pilis. And it was due to the respect for Nito. You know, my time there with Sana, Nito had a lot of homeboys, a lot of homegirls that were willing to go out their way to go pick up, drop off, move, egg, you guys get it, right? So he was respected in the sense that, sometimes, for example, Sana will get at him like, hey, there's a couple Ubers stuck right here in Tijuas. You think you have a couple hyenas, and he would resolve it. That's why he was respected. Nito was. Anyways, like I said, the homies from I they didn't have a big homie, so this individual walked around the yard though. Sana was a gangster. In his drive, he had that gangster walk with it, right? When you talk to him, it was he, and his word was way, always way. He was like a camarada, right? This fool walked around with his chest up, with the vatos or the homies, perdón, from ahí behind him like he was a Billy, right? And that was strike one that Sana didn't like. And keep in mind, even though all the Billys they're in their respectful corners, they speak amongst each other, right? For example, early in the morning or before Yarico, they will get together. For example, Sana will go with Frankie's right hand man and so on and so forth, right? They will meet for whatever they would address. And so if Sana was in disagreement of this, it meant that the other carnales were as well. But again, they were giving them rope because of Nito, because Nito played a big factor in assisting them, you know. And anyways, push came to shove, and a short while later, something happened with the vato from Redlands. Yeah, he was from Redlands, and a homie from Upland. They got in a little argument with some Dominicanos. Remember, I mentioned to you in this place that Dominicanos had a lot of movement going on, right? And these two homies, they get into it in regards to some work, right? And it gets squashed, right? The señores go over there and they squash things. They deal with the situation. Dominicanos get their feria. And then, you know, the aftermath came, which is who gave you the okay to do things with the Dominicanos, to buy off of them, to ask for them to front you. And they threw Raton on the pipe. They said Raton said it was okay, that it would just be our Ramfla, which was E, right? And to be sincere, that's when, if you pay attention to small things, you you seen Sana's face literally go into, I'm not gonna say mode, but this grin in his face, like, what what do you mean our area in the IE? There is no areas among Sureños. Who's pushing for this? And they threw Raton down the pipe again. And when Sana called Raton, all I did was just ask Frankie, like, hey, after Sana's done with them, should we whack him? Because we had just had this discussion, right? But I know so from Corcoran to Tehachapi, Pelican Bay, anywhere, you play that area trip to the point to cause a conflict, you're done. There, no Pili should even give you the benefit of the doubt to converse with him. But Sana did, right? So I asked Frankie, when they're done, should we whack them and remove them? And he said, we will know. We will know. Meaning, probably Sana will tell us, right? And anyway, Sana will get at him and tell him, like, why is he putting things in the camarada's head from the IE that it's an area trip? And instead of being respectful, again, he allowed that bloodline to go to his head, like he had the right to level up with a senor, right? And he told him, like, well, you kick it with your crowd, so on and so forth. You know, the homies have a right for somebody to guide them. So when he said, yeah, but you ain't nobody. Who gave you permission to guide anybody? And he says, I'm just trying to look out for my area. And that's when Sana said, you still tripping on that area? Okay. So he gets at the two homies that just had the conflict and tells him, hey, stay behind. We need to talk from what happened. And tells Raton, later on, we're going to have a conversation. Let me just deal with this first. And the solution with Sana was tell them two homies that just got into that conflict due to Raton is go get a fierro, come out and whack Raton. Whack him and make sure you tell everybody wherever he goes, he's basura. He's to get whacked. He can't walk amongst us. He's poison. And that's exactly what happened. The homies went in, came out strapped. They whacked them and removed them. And yeah, it became an issue, right? Because Nito wanted answers. And him being a Pili, he could ask for them. And the only thing was all the Pilis were beating around the bush at first, saying he was walking around like this. He was causing conflict. They told him all that happened. And Nito started telling you couldn't give him a pass though. Why put him on the lista? You should have checked him and at least have him bounce back up. And no lies to you. Up until this point, I have only heard it from one Pili, which is, if I don't like what another Pili has to say, I could say F them and whack them. But it was just by word of mouth, and that was Sherm. And when it came to Sana, jumping on the cuerno with Nito, me and Frank were there. And at first he was telling him like this, and that. He was trying to cause conflict with the homies from IE, with the rest of the yard. He was trying to call shots above us with the homies from IE. And Nito kept going on. I don't know what he was saying to be sincere. And then Sana just said, as a matter of fact, just because he's your nephew, don't mean I gotta like him. And I don't like him. He messed up. And he's done for, and I don't need to answer to you. And he said, cuídate and hang the phone. That's basically under the guidelines of what Sherm had said at one time. But that's exactly what always happens. I'm not gonna say I was privileged, but I seen it just in Ironwood alone. I seen it with four individuals that they were related, and they allowed it to get to their head, and they would end up getting whacked and removed. Three of them by Terco. The other one directly from his primo, which was another a señor from ahí. We just leave it at that. And I also seen, those that are related and they're real humble. But basically, the end look on this one is that. What I always tell everyone, it's always good to sit down and analyze, be smart. Is the reason why I'm on here with the message. When I say so you're able to see things coming, is for example like this right here. I bet you, which I hope it never happens, you would be doing time and you run across a family member and you see him abusing his power. This will come back. Once something enters the mind, it's hard to get it out. It pops back in when you least suspect it, believe me. And you will know to just take 5 steps away and allow the homeboy to crash on his own. But basically, the end look on this one is that always remember that what a Pili does or he's related to don't mean nothing for the next individual. Remember, I always say it, what you do in one place don't count in another place that has a different ownership to the yard, per se, like that. But anyways, I hope I made sense, everyone. I know I've been a little slow putting out videos. I still can't walk, so it takes me a while. Do please forgive me. I hope I make sense on this one. It's basically, always stay trucha. Just because someone tells you he's related to a Pili, don't mean nothing. You know, I was actually gonna tell you guys about a Pili that was shortly made, but you know, someone I dislike spoke real shortly about him, and I don't want nothing to do with that individual. You guys know what they said, stay smart, stay above those that are always out for themselves and to hurt our gente. Because, answer me this, what the raton wanted to gain from this when there's five, six, seven pilis on the yard and him giving camaradas the green light to get it dead. Oh, he also told them if the Dominicans get crazy, whack them. He has no right to tell someone on the yard to whack someone when there's spillies there. So always stay smart, stay ahead of people. Always stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones.